If it's not
Today's
in the
video
big
almost
town,
ends badly.
welcome back to the channel Spain Unlocked. My name is Anna, and today we'll be talking about the public transport in Spain. I know there are countries where public transport is efficient and fast, and some of the best ones in the whole entire country, and getting from one part to the other is quite easy and fast. However, Spain is not entirely like this, and all this depends. Where would you go? Here on the screen, you're able to see the map of Spain with all its regions, and in Spain, big transport opportunities, trams, buses, maybe even other public transport services, trains, trams, are available only in the biggest cities of the country. Once we go to the smaller town or village, tram is not an option basically, and there only is one option left, which is public bus service. In general, in biggest cities such as Madrid, Valencia, Barcelona, Alicante, capitals of the region and capitals of the province, the transport situation is quite all right. Obviously, you have a lot of different points of bus stops, different bus numbers going more or less to the same direction. You have the trams, the metro stations. You have even a lot of the times like public bus service, mobility scooters, taxis, Ubers, and much more. And it makes it quite easy to get from one destination to the other. It is quite fast, it is efficient, and a lot of the times in some of these destinations, grabbing a public transport such as metro is way faster than if you would go by your own vehicle, because roads get quite saturated and quite busy at some specific peak moments of the day, especially mornings when you go to work or school, and then in the evening when people return from school or back from work, if these are office hours, for example. So it is way better to grab a public transport there. However, what happens in the regions that are not the biggest cities, some places that are touristic maybe as well, or maybe even not, but places that are not giant metropolis and that do not have a whole entire net of public transport. For example, it is different from what's up north, what's in the center, what's here on the coast, and what's south. Usually and typically, still so far, south parts of Spain have slightly worse public transport systems, and up until not so long ago, even fast speed trains were not circulating to all the destinations up south, which meant that it was quite uncomfortable to get there. And while we could go from Alicante towards Madrid, for example, in just 2.5 hours time with the fast speed train, direct train as well, with just barely any stops, to go to south, like Malaga, for example, it would take us hours to get there because there was no fast train at all, and the buses will take about 5-6 hours, which is more or less the same that the car would take, so there was no big difference. However, now slowly but surely public transport in south parts of Spain is getting better, and there are slightly more options. They're more efficient, slightly faster, thus we think that in a few years from now on, it's going to be way better than it is right now. The cities and towns such as Alicante, obviously it's the capital of our region, of our province of Alicante, which means that we do have a metro. We call it tram of Alicante, and it has different lines all around the city. Plus, it connects with Benidorm town, and then the following train line connects with Denia. So all the coastal line from Denia towards Alicante is connected by tram, which is very nice, very convenient. It's quite cheap now. It was slightly more expensive before, but it is a good way of traveling, and tourists also love it. Those who want to explore as if they would be locals. After tram, we also have bus service. There is a public bus that runs inside of this town, which is like inside buses, and then there's also buses that are intercity ones, the ones that connect, for example, Benidorm with Albir, with Altea, Benidorm with Alicante, or any other surrounding villages and towns. There's bus stations as well where you could get your bus tickets. You could also purchase them online. And this allows the areas to be connected slightly more, but honestly, from a small village to go to Benidorm even if it's nearby, or from a small village to go to Alicante, even if it's just a couple of kilometers away, buses do not run that smooth. Usually it's one every hour, or even if it's not as needed, considered by the local government, obviously, the bus might go once or twice in the morning and once or twice in the evening. Thus, whenever you search for a property here in Spain, if it's not in the big town, just see what happened. This could have gotten me a serious injury. Oh, wow. I didn't expect that one. I mean, there's some trees right here around me. This is a ficus tree, and it's been raining quite a lot, but I think this tree is sick. There's just literally a giant branch just fell down all of a sudden. Good that I'm not below this tree. Oh my goodness, that would have been directly on top of my head. Oof. That's not good at all. But let's continue with today's video, shall we? Hopefully and luckily there are no direct trees here on top of me. There's one on the left, which is the one that just got one branch fallen. But what's the probability of another one falling down? Hopefully it's not big. Let's continue with today's video. It's not convenient to get this type of transport because people have to have a car. So if you're going to school, if you're going to, let's say, the job, if you need to go grocery shopping, this type of buses connecting only a couple of hours a day, it's not convenient. Thus, whenever you search for a property, it is very, very important for you to take all this into consideration. It is very important for you to check out all the information, which kind of services you have nearby, where's the public transport, if there is buses, trams, whatever services there are, because we did see some of our clients very, very specific about the area where they wanted to purchase, even though we told them there's not enough services there. And then at the end, when they went on self-exploring, let's say it like this, before the appointments, they've actually truly seen that it's not a good place for them because there's no transport, there's no services, there's nothing, literally just the house. So it's not worth purchasing. That is why these properties are on sale for such a long time. Thus, it is important to check the area if public transport is something that you need, and if you do not plan on having a vehicle here in Spain, at least not during the first years or not at all, then you will need a place that has a good connection to the hospitals, to the city center, maybe to the beach if you love beach area, all the closest services like supermarkets, pharmacies. If it's within walking distance, then it's even better. But if not, you would need to take a bus, a tram, maybe a taxi, a bicycle if you have one, a mobility scooter, whatever you have, to actually be able to get to close to all of these services. Thus, in our region, tram, bus, the closed trains, we call them, the one that connects Alicante with Elche, for example, which is, it looks like a train, it is a train, but it's called cercanías, which means that it's a close-up train, which makes just a short distance from Alicante to Elche back and forth. This is one of the few that I know that are really regular, that go every now and then, every 15 to 20 minutes, you can get one train more or less. And it's just very, very fast, very efficient, and a great way of connection between Alicante and Elche. So we hopefully will have way more transport services as efficient as this one. As per buses here do work quite well. However, lately we're experiencing some trouble and difficulties with some of the lines in our region, mostly here between Benidorm and the nearby villages such as Albir and Altea. This bus, for some reason, a lot of the times it comes earlier or later than it should be, but that's not such a big of a deal unless you have to work or go to school. But there are some services where they even skip one. So a lot of the times there is a line of 30, 40 people waiting on the bus stop, and then one of the buses just passes by really, really fast, saying it's out of service, and it's perfectly fine. You know, there's nothing wrong with it, apparently. And then the other one comes on the back, which is packed with people, so it cannot take any more people than that. As a result, there's people waiting and cannot get to their final destination. So buses are not always ideal, at least in our region and some other parts. So I know in Alicante they run really, really well, for example, which is again a big city, a capital of our region. In Valencia, in Barcelona, in Madrid, these are great. But once you get from biggest cities to slightly smaller ones, this is when the trouble starts happening. Thus, be prepared if you are coming to live here, if you're relocating to Spain. It will depend on the region and on the area you will choose for living if the public transport system will be good or not. Bear that in mind. And honestly, a lot of us, we do have our own vehicles here, at least one for family. Rare case, couple of vehicles for both family members, the ones who drive. Usually it's one car for the whole entire family, and it is the best way, it is more efficient way to go grocery shopping, because we shop once a week normally, and then we go to some shop nearby to grab things that we are missing or that we finished already. But usually big grocery shopping once a week with a vehicle to stock up on the water bottles, which we don't drink from tap, if you didn't know, and then we use a car to move to work, for example purposes, pick up children from school. A vehicle, a car, personal car is something that is really needed in a lot of parts of Spain. But public transport plays a nice role in it. As for prices for public transport, first of all, in question of trains, it really depends where you would go. So tickets can be as cheap as €3 to as expensive as €100, depending on how long is the distance and what kind of train it is, if it has some luggage included, if not, if you have to pay for extra seat, if it's a first class, if not. So prices range widely. The cheapest ones are obviously the express trains that are run by, for example, companies such as Ouigo. There are cheap, fast trains in Spain, which is not a Spanish company, obviously. Plus, then we have trams. Tram can be as little as €1, depending on how many zones will you pass through. Before, we've had 6, 7 zones, which was a lot. Now we have only 3 of them, so price has reduced considerably. In our region, at least in Alicante, we're talking right now. So in our province, it can cost as little as €1 to around €3 something, one way. For a train ticket if you cover all the area from Alicante towards Denia. Don't forget that all of the tickets, both for train, tram, bus, every public transport, there is a possibility of getting a card which you can top up and even pay monthly or like a year bono, like a voucher, which would allow you technically to travel way cheaper if it's on a daily basis. There's cards for students, for people that are retired, pensioners already, advanced age. There's for small children. There's also general cards that you use on a daily basis which give you discounts, and it's just way cheaper to use instead of paying like daily one ticket, which for a bus, for example, would cost €165 more or less. Last time I was on a bus, it was a long time ago, but it was €165 at least then. Don't think it's gotten more expensive than that. But €165 one-way ticket per person. And if you travel with your Bono card, like your bus card, then this trip would cost you around 80 cents, more or less. Between 70 and 90, depending on the area that you are. So obviously it's almost twice cheaper than if you would use your just like a regular ticket. Thus, many people use it as it saves them some money, and it's a great way of traveling when it works right, which in our region is not always the case, sadly. And then obviously you have tram prices, which we discussed already, train prices. It's very different, but it's a convenient way once there is a nice net for the transport created in the city. But it's not always the case here in Spain. South Spain is worse. Interior parts, like inside of the mountains, inside villages, different types of small towns, places that are not so widely used, where there's not hundreds of thousands of people living and dozens of thousands. Small villages, these are the ones who suffer the most and the ones who are lacking transportation the most in Spain, which I guess it's logical. If there's only a few people living, why should the government put a public transport system if no one barely will be using it? It's not profitable, right? But at the same time, it is not okay when people are disconnected from all the rest of the population and from the bigger cities nearby. So in this video, you were able to see the different types of public transport that we have here in Spain. You were able to get to know how it works and where it's better and where it's slightly worse in our country. How much might it cost? Obviously, there's taxis as well, which could be and should be considered a public transport, but obviously it's something private that you do not need to take. It's not a need a lot of the times. So taxis here vary per kilometer price, if it's weekend, if it's a day, if it's like a festive day, if it's a regular day, if it's nighttime, daytime, morning time, if you pick it up at the stop, and if not. But usually to go a distance of about 3-4 kilometers, overall it would cost you around 10 euros to get to the place. For example, from Albir to Benidorm, it's going to be around 12 euros cost, but that is because there is already almost 4 euro fee to picking up the taxi. That's how it is. If not, it will be way less. And then you have fixed prices if you go to specific destinations of interest, such as airport, maybe theme parks, or a hospital, or like a train stop, like a big train station. For these, there is fixed price from your destination where you will be at. But taxis are also quite an efficient way, honestly, and obviously it's way faster. If you don't have your own vehicle to get to your destination point, then it would be with a bus or a train, because these do make quite a lot of stops and they go slow. So it's not as fast as with a vehicle. Let us know how public transport works in your country, if it's good or bad, if there's any vouchers, if there's some prefixed prices maybe that you pay once a year or monthly and you have unlimited access to these types of services. These are also available here in Spain, but only for some certain services. For buses, usually what you have to do is you top up the card and then you just use it like this. There's 24, 48 and 72 hours cards for unlimited use, mostly used by tourists or visitors. But if not, all of us, we use Bono cards, which you have to top up. And then on each and every ticket, you see how much is left. That's how it usually works here in Spain, at least for bus service, and the same more or less for trams. Thank you for accompanying us in today's video. We wish you a lovely day. And if you have some more questions about relocating to Spain, make sure you check all our videos with useful information and some more videos about villages and cities that are considered good for relocating and living here in Spain, in our region of Valencian community. And if you have any more questions, feel free to contact us with our email, WhatsApp, and our website here down below. We will see you in a new video this Saturday. Goodbye.